Hello guys, welcome. In this video we want to work with the paystack payment. Okay, so let's go back to our browser. Let's go back to this GitHub. We are going to start by working with paystack standard. So I don't need this method because we have our own method. So I'm going to copy from this pay down up to this point because this is it for the method here. We don't need that, so I'm going to copy. Let's go back to our payment, paste it. It's as simple as that. So guys, beautiful. So we have an input field called pay, but we don't have an input field for pay, but we only have an invoice and amount. So I'm going to go back to this and change this code to invoice. But before that, don't worry. So I'm going to copy this, paste it. Beautiful. So let me copy the amount. This is the amount, and this is the invoice ID. Good. So if it is equals to paystack, get this field. Okay. All right. So we can use HTML escape to prevent SQL injection. So CodeIgniter has its way of doing that though, but we just want to add as. All right, so we are secure. We have the amount ID, amount, and the invoice ID. Beautiful. So what next is that I am going to say if it is set. So this is set is a function that determines if a variable has been declared and it is not null, it is not empty. Of course, when we access this method, this invoice ID is not going to be null. So if it is set, okay, so we need this amount is equals to, of course, it's going to be this variable amount, or let's change this to amount to pay. So because we have a variable called amount here already, so beautiful. So you must multiply the amount with by 100. That is the paystack standard. So here I'm generating a random number. All right, so we can leave this. If there's any things that you want to put there, okay, but I love to just generate random numbers. Okay, so I can equally put 1 0 to be different from what other people are doing. So I'm going to add more 9 here. Okay, so we need a callback. You see, this callback determines and it helps us to determine if a payment has been actually made or not. So we need this. I'm going to go to return back to payment controller. All right, and here I'm going to pick a method called paystack verify payment method together with our reference what we generated. Okay, so go to payment controller, which is the same controller. Locate another method called paystack verify payment, then go there with our reference number. Okay, so these are the post data. So excuse me, so we need to get something based on we need to display the student email, of course, and the amount. This is it. The amount is correct, the ref is correct, the callback URL is correct, but we need the student email here. How do we do that? So we need to do that with the help of this invoice ID. In fact, we can make it more simpler let's go back to this invoice. We can easily copy this. Of course, let's echo out the student ID that has this invoice. So I'm going to say echo role. Of course, it's going to be role, and here I'm going to call it student ID. Of course, a variable role, student ID. The name is going to be student ID. Cool, right? So let's go back to this payment, and I'm going to copy this. Let's call this student ID. Good. Now I'm going to say that select student email address is equals to this db get where method select from student table our array where student ID it associate array is equal to variable student ID. Then what we are going to return is role, then return student ID. It's as simple as that. Role student ID. No, we are going to return email address, of course. So guys, let's go back to this invoice. I think okay, it's correct. Role. So role return the email. So here guys, I'm going to copy this. I'm going to get rid of this string and paste this. So where email is equals to this guy. So I'm selecting email based on the student ID that we got here. Good. So we also need to set some things to session. Yes, because I need something, and don't worry, when we get there you will understand. And what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to say this session set user data. I want to say inv ID, which is the invoice ID, comma, is equals to our invoice ID. Okay, I equally want to set that student ID. Let me use stu ID is equals to student ID. We are going to need these two session. So what session does is to hold an information. So when we access this parameter, we want to process all this and hold this value inf ID and student ID, which is our invoice ID and student ID, to session. It will hold it for us because I'm going to need that when we get to this paystack verify payment. Beautiful, right? So guys, we are cool right now. Of course, yes, we are cool right now, but we need something. We need our paystack secret key. Don't forget, from our system settings we wrote the code here that if the add-on is available, get a field where we are going to supply paystack secret key. That secret key, we need it here. Okay, so I can equally select that. Let's say this, let me use long code, this db get where select from settings table an array where type it associate array is equals to paystack. Alright, so we are going to return row and we are going to return row description. Okay guys, what I'm trying to do here is that I'm trying to select from settings table where type is equals to paystack, though we don't have it yet, but when the client installed add-on, automatically it will be available, of course. So let me assign this to a variable. I'm going to say that, in fact, let me use this. Alright, so I'm just going to slot in variable. Cool. So we got paystack secret key here. So what else? Oh, beautiful. 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 So guys, that's all. So I don't really need all this. I'm going to get rid of this. Of course, I don't need that. And I equally don't need this, guys. Yes, I don't need that. What is this? Okay, for the parameter. Okay, beautiful. So we have a very neat code. So guys, in the next video I am going to write a code for paystack verify payment, and let's see what we are going to achieve there. So thank you. Bye.